This just bothers me. It really bothers me. Like, it just itches my brain. If I could just, fix this poor child's receding hairline. Hello everyone, I'm back with another Precure video to bring in the new season, Meitantei Precure, also known as Star Detective Pretty Cure. I'm not sure which title people prefer yet. But anyway, some of you who watched the videos I did on You and Idol Precure last year may be wondering, whatever happened to that? Did I end up liking the season? Did I even finish it? Unfortunately, the answer is no on both fronts. I am happy to report that it did allow me to add lots of great music to my Pretty Cure playlist. Shout out to Groove Loop, because of course the best girl gets the best character song. I am also happy to report that it was better than Star Twinkle Precure. Although that's a pretty low bar, it's not hard to make a better anime than literally the worst anime I've ever watched. However, I can't really say that I enjoyed You and Idol, outside of the occasional fun episode here and there. Overall, it felt like I was spending 90% of my time waiting for another fun episode to come along, rather than actually being entertained. And it got to the point where I just gave up and DNF'd it. Besides the general boredom, I think Kaito and Nana's characters really got on my nerves. Nana for essentially never becoming a character, and Kaito for only becoming a character in ways that pissed me off. The intense, unbridled rage I felt when I found out they made him a cure basically cemented my decision to leave the show behind for good. I don't want to spend too much time ranting about this, so let me just show you some of my notes from before I gave up on the show. Overall, I rated a 4 out of 10. It had good moments, but the writing quality was just way too inconsistent. And from what I've been hearing, the latter half of the series was even worse, so I think I got out at just the right time. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Now, let's get into the actually new anime that everyone is currently talking about. Meitantei is already shaping up to be a very unique season. For one thing, the series is centered around both time travel and detective work, two story elements that have been as yet untouched in this franchise, as far as I know. And these are unusually intellectual themes, for lack of a better word, which really surprised me. Like, my impression of Precure's MO nowadays is that they pick a decorative theme, like food or animals or all of the above, and they use that to inspire the art direction and all the character designs and world building, and then they just have the characters goof around in that setting and occasionally fight monsters, without a very strong connection between those decorative themes and the plot itself. You and Idol Precure is actually a great example of this. From what I saw, the girls spent very little time caring about being idols or working on their quote-unquote careers. Like, it felt more like the idol thing was a fun activity they could just pick up and put down whenever they felt like it, rather than an actual job or even just an interesting hobby. Uta, the main character who loves to sing, never seems to care that there are thousands of people out there who have fallen in love with her voice, never seems motivated to sing more or to get better at singing, or even just to use her idol persona specifically to share her gift. For all intents and purposes, she does not care about her pop superstar alter ego until her manager tells her it's time to go sell some lipstick. And I admit that I can't say that for certain since I didn't watch the whole show, but even if they did start doing that later on, it should not take half a season for you to make a teenage girl start caring about the fact that she's a magical singing superhero. That's the kind of thing that should be a gigantic part of the plot from day one. You can't just put a life-altering story element like that on the back burner until the last few episodes. And you definitely can't do that with something like detective work. Most detective stories are either episodic with a new mystery every episode, or big complex plots with mystery arcs spanning multiple episodes, if not the entire series. Either way, that's a lot of writing. Like, even for a whole team of writers, that's a lot of work. To be perfectly honest, it's more than I think Precure in its current state is capable of, especially when you throw the natural complexity of time travel into the mix. If we're very, very lucky, what will happen is we'll get a writing staff that was specifically gathered together to take the franchise in a smarter direction, and they'll weave smaller, episodic mysteries in with a larger overall mystery leading to the final boss, and use time travel elements to introduce lots of twists and turns and fun surprises for the characters along the way. and it'll be the best season of Precure in years, and I will literally never shut up about it ever for the rest of my life. Now, if we're just a little lucky, what will happen is we'll get a run-of-the-mill series with a simple mystery/monster of the week every episode. And occasionally we'll get an episode with a more important mystery when it comes to our anti-hero cure or the villains. And the time travel may not play a very large role outside of the inciting incident, but we'll still see it in small ways when it comes to the character's magical abilities or problems caused by the monsters, stuff like that. You know, not all that interesting in execution, but competent and easily enjoyable. Now, on the other hand, if we're not lucky at all, what will happen is we'll get nothing. Pure Answer will get sent back in time in episode 1, and we will literally never use time travel again until the last few episodes. Pure Mystique will spend every day yapping about being a detective, but she'll never actually have to solve a mystery. It'll be more of a character gimmick than anything else. And the villains will steal stuff, and the Cures will chase after them to get it back, and they'll just do that over and over until we finally figure out how to send Answer back home for the big finale. And it'll suck, and I'll cry, and bang my fist against the wall. And you may be saying, hey Doki, that's a little pessimistic, isn't it? Why are you being such a downer? They wouldn't have bothered creating a time travel mystery season if they weren't actually interested in its potential, would they? And I would say to you, yeah, you would think that. But my experience with Star Twinkle Precure, another unusual season that seemed to be full of potential, has taught me otherwise. Plus, I happen to have spent a lot of time with another piece of media that sold itself as a mystery adventure, despite being wholly uninterested in mystery or adventure. Someday, when I finish my giant 9-hour rewrite of this game, you'll get to hear all my gripes with it. But for now, I'll just say that some writers do this thing where they pretend that mystery means just not telling you things. They ask a question at the beginning, and then the characters spend the whole story running around in circles until someone gives them the answer at the end. And apparently we're supposed to find this compelling and suspenseful rather than lazy and brainless. Now, I'm not saying that that kind of writing sounds right up the alley of modern Precure, but I'm not saying it either. All we can do is wait and see, I guess. Don't get me wrong, I want to like this show. I'll be in there hoping and praying and rooting for it to succeed. But realistically, I expect to maybe enjoy Arcana Shadow's character arc, but not much else. And speaking of Arcana Shadow, let's take a break from the doom and gloom and talk about these character designs, because I think they're pretty good. Pure Arcana Shadow seems to be a fan favorite already, and for good reason. Blonde hair and black clothes are always a winning combination. I'm honestly surprised it took the Precure franchise this long to get to it. When she inevitably joins the heroes team, because you know she will, I wonder if they'll have her change her outfit and character color. If they do the obvious cliche and have her change to white, I will cry. She'll probably still look good, but it'll be such a shame. I think I could be satisfied if they pull a Cure Passion and let her keep some black elements, basically switching up the proportions of her original color scheme. Pure Passion was my favorite when I was a kid, and her outfit was at least 50% of the reason why. Not only is this objectively awesome, it's a very unique look for a magical girl protagonist, and I'd love to see more of it. But anyway, her actual present-day outfit is probably the best design in the group. Just look at this beautiful silhouette. None of the other girls even come close to having such strong shapes. Despite all the veils and volume on this girl, she doesn't feel over-designed. She looks phenomenal. Now, as for Mystique and Answer, this is basically the same dress twice. Which is fine, I guess. I don't have a problem with slightly repetitive designs, but the variations they use here just aren't very interesting. Like, the cutesy girl gets the round shape language, and the more straight-laced girl gets the boxy shape language. And that's it. And it's fine, it works, but it's just nothing to write home about. I like these accessories in Mystique's hair. I think they're really cool and unique, and I may steal this idea someday for one of my own characters. But that's pretty much it. Really, the character models, as I call them, are doing the real heavy lifting for these designs. The girls' faces and expressions are so cute, it makes you want to overlook the boring dresses. Too bad I can't say the same for the civilian outfits, but that's a discussion for another day. Last but not least is Cure Eclair. Actually, maybe this is last and also least, because I think she has the weakest design of the group. I like the idea of her being a blue-leaning rainbow Cure, like my girl Cure Cosmo. But unlike with Cosmo, there is no focal point here. It's just a lot of differently colored elements thrown around randomly on the design. We have all this low detail off-white on the main body, which I don't like because it gives the impression of undergarments, and that's not something you want for a hero design. These are supposed to feel like battle clothes, not pajamas. And then all the brighter colors are just kind of hanging off the sides of the outfit, and they're weirdly segregated. Like we have blue here, and pink here, and green here, and it's like, why can't any of these colors coexist? Is throwing yellow sparkles over everything the best we can do to make this feel cohesive? And just in general, what is this design supposed to feel like? What did the artist even want to do with this girl? I like her hairstyle and her hat and her overall silhouette, but apart from that, I just don't know what I'm looking at. Also, what is this new obsession with ombre hair? Why do all the characters need to have this now? Just to bother the animators? Oddly enough, Eclair is the only one who pulls it off. For the rest, I just forget that it's there until I notice how ugly and unnecessary it is. Like, here, let me just take it off. It doesn't hurt a bit. I don't know why they put it on in the first place. Do they have some color-changing dolls they need to sell or something? Maybe some leftovers from Cure Kiss merchandise? I feel like I've got my tinfoil hat on now, but there's gotta be some explanation. Anyway, now that we've gone over the big things like the themes and the designs, let's just talk about fun stuff. For example, the Kyubey joke everyone keeps making. For those of you who are unaware, Kyubey is the fairy companion featured in the infamous Dark Magical Girl series, Puella Magi Madoka Magica, which I've been a fan of for most of my life. I should make a video about it sometime. Anyway, Kyubey is, spoiler, a heartless alien being who manipulates young girls into entering a deadly profession in order to harvest the energy of their souls. And the main fairy companion of Meitantei Precure, Pochitan, now shares a voice actress with Kyubey. Interesting coincidence. I think if your only exposure to Emery Kato's voice work is from Kyubey, then yeah, this casting might feel a little frightening, and like the director is trying to imply something about the tone he has in mind for Meitantei Precure. I find that highly unlikely, partly because, let's be real, this is a kids show, and partly because my first exposure to Emery Kato was not from Kyubey. The first time I heard her voice, she was playing this character. クリームサンドに対して失礼よ。クリームサンドクラッカーはね、最初にクラッカーの塩味とクリームの甘みのコンビを楽しんで、それから塩味のクラッカーを食べる。これを交互に繰り返す。あんたもやってみなさい。どうやめられなくなるでしょ。And it seems like this is the voice she's using for Pochitan, so yeah, I'm not worried. By the way, shout out to Powerpuff Girls Z. I know it's like 20 years old at this point, but it's still gold and you should watch it. That show made me who I am today. Okay, next. This isn't necessarily fun, but it's just a random thing that was bothering me. So, they say in the character profile for Jet Senpai that the reason he takes the form of a cute, shippable human boy is not just for fan service, it's actually because he just doesn't like existing in his natural fairy form. Totally just a personal preference. He decided this himself, we swear. And it's just, I'm seeing a trend and I'm starting to not like it. I haven't watched many Precure seasons with fairies that turn human. I think the only one I actually saw with my own two eyes was Cure Beat, and I'm pretty sure she had a whole character arc around it. Like, the point was for her to redeem herself and become a cure and a hero, not just to become a human because we're so super curious about what she would look like. Pretty please turn her human so we can see. Like, excuse me, that's what fan artists are for? If you're gonna try to do my job for me in the canon show, then I expect to be given a story reason for it. But nowadays, it seems like so super curious is the default reason to make a fairy a human. Every fairy automatically gets a human form, and a cure form if we can help it, because it would be so super cute and we're all thinking about it anyway, so why not just put it on screen right now, immediately, for any reason? And let me be very clear. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of this. I was fangirling over Cure Mofurun like everyone else, I ain't better than nobody. But over the years, as this keeps on happening, I feel like it cheapens the role of fairies in this franchise. And now it's taking on this weird anthropocentric dimension, where we're implying that magical aliens from another dimension see the human form as superior? Why are our fairies now embarrassed to look like themselves, even when they're among friends? This feels very messed up in a way I can't yet articulate. I guess basically what I'm saying is, I think it should be okay for our magical animal friends to just be magical animals. We don't have to turn every single living thing on Earth into a human with a human name who will go to school with us. Because this is getting ridiculous, it's giving forced assimilation. I've been a Gichinka artist for over a decade, and even I'm saying enough is enough. And if we're being honest, most of these human form designs aren't even good. Like, seriously, you can stop now. Alright, one last fun thing, and I promise this one is actually fun. So, I have this theory. I think that when a season of Precure is well received, the next season to be produced when it ends, as in the one that comes out 2 years later, will resemble it. For instance, I heard Wonderful Precure was fairly popular, but Kimito Idol was likely already in production before they could make that call. So, the season in production while Kimito Idol aired, Meitantei, became the spiritual sequel to Wonderful. You can't deny that there's a little similarity in these concepts. The goofy pink and purple MC pair, the Cure Lillian lookalike. Like, I'm not crazy, am I? Something's going on here. Now, last year I heard some rumors that Kimito Idol was crazy popular and sold tons of merch, possibly because the show devolved into a glorified commercial at least 20% of the time. So, my bet is that a spiritual sequel to it is going into production now, and when Meitantei ends, the season after it will look and feel similar to Kimito Idol. Let me know if you agree, I'm eager to see if my hunch will turn out to be correct. Thanks so much for watching, like, subscribe, whatever, and I'll see you next time. By the way, I don't know who this is, but they look adorable and I hope they're a fun villain. Please, Lord, let me have at least one new character to latch onto in this franchise.